When we say the word wealth, we're not just talking about money, we're also talking about time, and we're talking about the influence in the lives of the people you care about the most. Wealthy people, those who have a lot of money, time, and influence, didn't get there by taking the same path as everyone else. They thought differently. They made bold, unusual moves, and that's why they've accomplished what so few people accomplish. The goal of this podcast is to train you in the mindsets and the specific tactics of the wealthy so that you're fit and capable of producing wealth yourself. We want to help you get WealthFit. Let's go. WealthFit Nation, welcome back. As you know, it's my job to get inside the heads of successful investors and entrepreneurs and find out the mindset and the specific actions they took to create that success. And we've got an incredibly special show today. Before I introduce the guest and make you aware of who she is, I want to tell you that I met her in New York while interviewing Danica Patrick at an entrepreneur event. I had seen her in the magazine, and when I saw her there in New York, I said, I've been meaning to talk to you. And so arranged this interview, this special show with her there. And if you're just getting to know Alina, she is 13 years old. Yes, 13 years old. And she has, as what I say, a candy empire. And what I mean by that is she started a company, gosh, I think over 6 years ago now. So, when she was 7, 8, 9 in that range, she got the idea, I believe, when she was 7 and really started cranking a little bit after that. And she's always selling the candy message, and it is a sweet message. What's really interesting about this show is I feel really empowered about what we're doing here at WealthFit with WealthFit Teen. I feel empowered about everything we're doing here, but especially bringing this message to teens to really help them on their path, whether that's being better with money, investing, and entrepreneurship. And so Alina fits that. I'm really excited to have her as our first interview of somebody that isn't an adult yet, but well on her way. And so a couple big highlights in the show that I wanted to make you aware of. What's interesting is time management, right? She still has to go to school. So how does she run a multi-million-dollar business with her family's support and help, and yet have a lot less time than someone that's a full-time entrepreneur? I think this will resonate with a lot of us, especially if you're working a job or doing something and you want to build the thing or create the thing that you really want to do full-time. And so that's a big, big thing to look for in this show. Another thing to look for in this show is the commentary on the young generation. So her generation, how does she see her generation? And a little refreshing, I'll give you a little hint here, a little refreshingness of her generation and what she is doing to create business in her world. And then the other thing I thought, which was interesting for some of us that are in the entrepreneurship path, this idea of giving back or giving, and you'll discover in this episode, her mindset and how they came to start a nonprofit, but also to donate some money, percentage of profits to charities. And so if you've got young ones, you're definitely going to want them to hear this. And if you need a kick in the pants from a 13-year-old, well, you're going to love this show too. With that said, let's get to it.
Hi, this is Alina Morse, and I am the CEO creator of Zollipops, and you're listening to the Get WealthFit show on the WealthFit Podcast Network.
Lollipops will rot your teeth. This is what your dad tells you. It's the classic line. I can totally relate, having 2 young ones myself and probably saying this once or twice, if not more. However, when you hear this, that propels you to start what would become a candy empire. Will you take us back and walk us through how this whole thing started with Zollipops?
Certainly. So I was only 7 years old when I came up with the idea for Zollipops, and it all started with that exact same scenario. My dad and I were at the bank, and the bank teller had offered me a lollipop, and my dad told me that I shouldn't have candy because sugar is terrible for my teeth. So I asked him, well, why can't we make a healthy lollipop that's good for my teeth so that I could have candy and it wouldn't be bad for me? And then after being very tenacious and asking my dad about 100 times, when are we going to make these lollipops? He finally told me, Alina, if you want to get something done, you have to do the research, write down your ideas, So that's exactly what I did. And after about 2 years of research and plant trials, I finally created Zollipops.
I love it. I love how your dad throws it back to you. This is a very wise move, but in the right move too. So it propelled you. I'm very curious. So you went out, you did research, and from what I understand, it took some time to do this research. Did you not find sugar-free lollipops? Did you just not find a product that you were happy with? Did it just not exist at the time? What was that like? What was the landscape like?
Well, I'm sure as a lot of people have seen, the sugar-free selection is very small and very boring. It's not that kids would want to have candy that was made for their grandparents. No, thank you. And certainly as a kid, well, I mean, I looked into it and I was like, this is the only sugar-free candy that they have. And they don't have anything that's good for their teeth, anything that helps benefit you. And so I was really searching, but I couldn't find any products like that. So I decided that, okay, well, if I created a product like this, I'd be filling a niche. I could create a product that a lot of kids would like because I'm sure they face the same problems, having their parents tell them no. And I decided that also I could make something that's sugar free, but also tastes like a normal candy and something that kids would find fun and colorful and exciting.
Alina, I'm very curious, and maybe it's your upbringing that your parents have walked you through essentially or brought you up in a certain way. So most people, right, they get this idea there's a pain, why aren't there sugar-free lollipop? They hear the same thing that you hear and they just shrug your shoulders. Now, I think most kids too, I don't want to make an assumption here, but I think a lot of kids, thinking back to when I was younger, would just kind of do the same thing and shrug your shoulders. What was it about you wanting to solve this problem? Do you feel like it was your upbringing? Had you been coming up with different ideas and this one just really resonated? What was going through your head in that moment when you said, let's do this?
Well, I've always had kind of an entrepreneur's mindset. Ever since I was very young, I've always wanted to help people. And when my dad read me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was about 3 or 4, I decided that business was a fantastic way to actually help people through starting a company. So I found that, well, now that I have an idea and that I've researched it a bit, I can actually turn this into a successful company where I can help kids, help parents. So I always kind of had that mindset. And my dad, he was a business consultant. So he always kind of thought, well, an entrepreneur's mindset is great. So I'm going to help really nurture it. I'm going to read her this book and hopefully it'll help spark her attention for business. So that was kind of the initial upbringing. And I always kind of had a little place in my heart for business. So starting a company was kind of the obvious thing to do at that point.
Alina, that's huge for me personally, but I think for the WealthFit Nation listening in is I was always thinking, I'm going to leave Rich Dad, Poor Dad in my son's room and just let them happen upon it. The fact that your dad read it to it just shaved years off of it. So thank you for that. That's incredibly powerful for so many people. All right. So here's the multi-million-dollar question. So you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. How in the heck did you know how to make candy or learn how to make candy when you had this idea and you wanted to execute?
Well, let me tell you, it took a lot of rewatching the same YouTube video and just like staring at it and just trying to figure out how I could substitute which ingredients to make a healthy candy. Because obviously, I wanted all natural flavors and colors because I have a dye allergy. I wanted to be nut free because a lot of my friends have nut allergies, gluten free, dairy free, vegan, diabetic friendly. Everything you can think of, I wanted to be a treat and I wanted to be accessible for everyone. So therefore, I did a lot of watching YouTube, researching the different ingredients that I could switch out. And then I went to the store and I picked out all the healthy ingredients and all the things I needed to make candy. And I tried to make candy in my kitchen. And that really did not go well. And I made a mess. And my parents were not too happy about it. Obviously, they wanted me to be creative, but they did not want me to ruin the oven. It was honestly a really great way for me to learn that I could not make it by myself. Just doing the experiment and then realizing that I needed a manufacturer. And so that kind of helped me mature and realize that I do need some more professional things to create a good, like high quality professional company. And so I went to several plants. I did plant trials until I finally found the plant that I wanted to make Zollipops at and find all of the different flavors, the different colors, everything about it.
Alina, I want to ask here that sometimes when you're starting something, you're very close to it. So you find the ingredients, you do all this research, you've got the plant, but even before we get to the plants, I want to talk to you about how did you know when it was good? Like besides you tasting it and saying, oh, I'd eat this, but how did you know like this is something that is viable?
Well, I definitely saw that there was a niche to be filled. And so just being so young and not really having any unquote baggage that adults have from, being in the business world and struggling until finally succeeding, I didn't really have any of the doubts or anything like that. So I was really just going all in like, well, I want this to happen. And I think other kids would like this to happen. So we're just going to do it. So it was kind of just the attitude of just not being worried about what could happen if it failed. I really just never thought about what would happen then. And my parents were very supportive about it. And so that was definitely something that was really big for me. And I was just kind of fearless.
I love it. I'm very curious. Like imagine the first couple batches you're sharing with people around you, maybe your friends. What was the feedback like initially?
Well, my friends didn't sugarcoat it, pun intended, but they were my friends, so they wanted me to succeed and they wanted to tell me, exactly how it was. I'm going to be honest, the first couple batches, they were awful. I mean, working with new ingredients that hadn't really been worked with before, or people that had worked with them had failed and given up, working with the ingredients that we had, it was difficult to find the happy medium, the perfect color with using natural colors, perfect flavor using natural flavors with the xylitol and the erythritol, the perfect balance. So at first, it was definitely not good at all, but it was just a lot of trial and error.
Did you ever think that you would give up? Like you seem pretty focused and driven to like will it to happen, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, like, did you ever have doubts in the beginning?
Like I said, I really didn't have any doubts because initially I was just like, oh, well, nothing ever goes wrong in business. I was a little 7-year-old girl. I was not sure, or I had no idea that a business could go wrong. I just thought, you just come up with the idea and you make it happen and then you sell millions of dollars worth of it, just casually. But I never had any idea that it would be difficult or that our lollipops would melt or that it would actually be hard to get in stores. But yeah, I mean, I really just didn't have any doubts.
I love it. I think that's something that we all can benefit from, just that fearlessness and not being so like moved by other people's feedback or what they think. I think it's a big lesson here.
Yeah.
Alina, I'm curious about what does the business look like? So let's fast forward. That was the start. What does the business look like now? Employees? What are your projections? How long have you been doing this? What does it look like?
So we currently have 6 employees that work in our Zolli office, and they're fantastic. They're so passionate. They're so amazing. And I couldn't ask for any better people to work with because business is a team sport. I learned that early on. You can't do anything without a team. Then we also have a lot of people that work not in our office every day, but help us every single day. We have, buyers helping us get into more retailers, brokers, and it takes a lot of people. And we have been doing really well recently. We're on set to triple this year in sales, and we've doubled the past 2 years. So that's very exciting for us. And we're working on getting into more retailers literally we have meetings every week, just trying to get into more retailers to reach more people to help everyone smile.
Retail, incredibly fascinating to me. Initially, I'm guessing here, you went online with it, or did you land one big contract and that sort of got you going?
Yeah. So basically, we had reached out to a Whole Foods buyer, and even though my dad was a business consultant, he'd never worked in the candy space before. So this was new territory for both of us. And so we reached out to a Whole Foods buyer just regionally, and we set up a meeting, and we had the meeting. It went fantastic. I was really, really nervous at first, but I went in, I did my pitch, and they absolutely loved the product, which I was so grateful for. And they said, we're going to bring it in. And then 6 months later, a whole 6 months later, we were finally on shelves. And that was so huge that we could just like see our product on a store shelves that we've shopped at forever. And so we grew from there onto Amazon, to Kroger, and then most recently into Walmart, which is over 4,000 stores. That was absolutely huge for us. And now we're working on getting into more retailers internationally. I mean, we just got our French packaging back for our French retailers. And so we definitely are expanding at a rapid rate, I would say, because it does take a while to get into these retailers.
Alina, so many questions to ask here. First one, I want to go a little back, and it was about the pitch. I want to ask you, how did you prepare for that pitch? I'm very curious as to the dynamic of you delivering it along with your father. How did you choreograph that or think through that when you entered into Whole Foods?
Well, geez, I don't know if I can remember it word for word, but no, it was lots of teamwork. I definitely wanted to do a lot of the pitch myself, just because I was just so excited. And we drove to the store and it was pretty far. So we were practicing all the way there. And I was like, I knew I pitched inside and out. But I've also always kind of had like a more like theater, acting, singing kind of passion. It's always been a passion of mine. So I've always kind of been confident in front of people. And that's another big thing that I've always wanted to do something in like TV or media. So I've always kind of loved the whole like marketing and like going on TV shows, aspects like that. So I just thought of it like a script and I was like, well, I'll just learn my script and then I'll play the part. And yeah, so that's basically what it was. But as for like creating the whole pitch, it was just like a lot of teamwork, a lot of like, what do we want to get the point across? That's our goal.
You mentioned obviously landing Whole Foods and other retailers. My understanding, Alina, being an outsider, I'm not in the retail business or in the candy business, but being an outsider, once you do secure a retailer, I hear this leads to a whole new set of challenges, especially if they place a big order. So has that happened where you had to like problem solve because they said yes, and now you've got this new set of like challenges to work through?
That definitely did happen when we got into the newest store, Walmart, which was our newest chain, because there's so many stores and there was just a lot of orders coming in. So we were just like pushing them out every day, which was definitely like a whole new ball game for us because we had never been in a store or we've never been in that many stores per chain. And so that was definitely crazy. We even used third party logistics because it was just so many POs. So it was definitely crazy, but we brought in third party logistics. We worked extra hard to make sure that we had our manufacturer had Zollipops running day in, day out so that we could get all the orders done. And we literally had to ship to 42 distribution centers. FedEx was coming every day.
How did you manage it all? I mean, you mentioned the team, but how did you ensure that everything was getting delivered? How did you have peace of mind, essentially?
Well, I certainly didn't. Being at school, I didn't have complete peace of mind because I obviously wasn't at the office. But I had so much trust in my team. They're incredible. And I know that they will do everything that they can to make sure that an order this magnitude will go right. And even small orders, they make sure that they go right. And I just have a lot of trust in the people that I work with. And so that's kind of how I had somewhat peace of mind throughout that experience.
Alina, we have folks in the e-com space, and you did mention Amazon getting the product there. What have you learned about working or getting your product into Amazon or listed there and selling? What are some big lessons that you learned that you can share with other folks that are doing something similar?
Definitely just to keep going. And this is kind of something with all retailers that I've kind of come across. Just keep going, keep following up. And I used Amazon a lot at first to look up different products that could be on the market already. That when I was wanting to create a product, I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything out there so that we could be the number one, that we can really grow this healthy candy functional food category. And so definitely just to keep following up and to use the resources that you are given. And being so young, because I was only about 9 at the time, I wasn't the one having the direct emails with the buyers, but my team at the time was definitely creating an environment where they were just like trying to explain everything they could to me so that I could understand what was happening. Because being so young, I didn't really understand all the things that happened behind the scenes before starting a company. But since then, I have gotten a lot more involved and a lot more informed about how things happen. But it's just a long process getting into any retailer.
I want to talk about what your day looks like. And I understand that changes in the summertime versus when you got to show up at school. So give me both, if you will, if you'll entertain us here. What does your day look like right now?
Well, first of all, I wake up in the morning and I get ready for school. And then my dad drives me to school. And on the way there, we talk about anything that happened the night before and anything that's upcoming. So we'll do like anything that really doesn't involve looking at a computer or looking at a phone, because obviously he's driving. So we talk about any upcoming events that we go to, because we go to trade shows, we go to meetings, any like upcoming calls. And then we'll talk about things that we can do to better the product and things of that sort. And then I go to school, obviously. But then after school, I split my time into thirds. So I have 1/3 for working on homework because it goes hand in hand with school. And then I have 1/3 for working on the company, which basically consists of looking at data, statistics, working on marketing, talking to customers, and just all of the things that kind of need to be handled electronically. Because in this day and age, there's so much use for electronics in your day-to-day life. And of course, with business, because everything's digital now. And then I have my final third for any extracurriculars that I have. And I also like to use that to keep up on social media, because social media is so important for marketing. And it's one of my big goals to, be an influencer. This morning, I literally just hit 10K on Instagram.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. And I'm working to create good content to really keep people engaged. And influencers just don't have to be models or actors. They can also be CEOs and women entrepreneurs, things like that. Really important.
Alina, are you pretty good, would you say? Be honest, 100%, no BS. Would you say that you're pretty good with the free time line? So you said a third homework, a third biz, and a third free time. How do you feel you are when it comes to shutting off the homework, shutting off the biz, and doing free time stuff?
I would say I actually am pretty good at it. I do like me some free time. But obviously, homework comes first because I wanted to do good in school, learn everything I can. And then the business is obviously so important to me because it's my passion. And so I obviously love being a kid too. I love hanging out with my friends. I love hanging out with my sister, my family. So that's definitely something that I don't really have a problem with. I know a lot of people have struggled with trying to also have a personal life along with their company or along with school. But I definitely really enjoy that aspect of making sure I'm still a kid, because my parents are really great about it. They always make sure that they bring me back down. They're like, Alina, you have to make sure you have some time for yourself. You have to make sure you have some time to hang out with your friends and be a kid.
Alina, I want to press a little bit here on the school situation. It's probably something you don't enjoy talking about the most, right? It's school, right? I'm very curious. Are you like trying to graduate early so that you can focus on the biz, or are you just going to let it play out how it normally plays out?
I completely honestly have no idea. I'm still in middle school, so I'm not even like in high school yet. I'm not even like looking into graduating early, but I definitely think that I want to learn everything I can. And I want to make sure that I have like all the opportunities that I can get educationally, but also socially throughout high school. But I think it always is interesting to hear different people's stories and how things play out. I've talked to people that have graduated early and they've told me about their experience. I've talked to people that have finished high school with their company and they've told me about their experience. So it definitely is an option that I would be looking into, obviously, when the time comes. But I honestly have no idea right now.
What do your friends think about Alina, the entrepreneur, the founder of Zollipops? What do they think about this whole thing?
Well, my friends, they think it's super cool. They love Zollipops. So it's not even Alina the entrepreneur. It's Alina that has a bunch of candy all the time. And nobody really knows why, but it's good. So yeah, they're super supportive. Whenever I have an assignment that I'm not sure about because I may have been absent, well, they're always willing to help me. And the same thing with my teachers. They're always very supportive. And that's a big part of why I can succeed and why I can go to school and work on the company, because I have a lot of people supporting me and a lot of people that believe that it's a great opportunity, as do I. And so they really make a difference.
Alina, I want to share something with you. I was either reading something or I was listening maybe to a podcast, and we're talking with Sean White and how he didn't necessarily grow up in the best like skiing, snowboarding area, and how that would be perceived weakness, but he channeled that into a strength. And so I sort of see your schedule a little bit because you've got school, right? And you're running a business as well. And so a third of your time is, I don't want to say taken away, but like you just can't use it because you're at school. And so I think that sets you up to be super productive later as soon as you graduate from that, because you'll have like newfound time. But in the meantime, I'm real curious, Lena, how do you determine, because you really only have so much finite time versus other entrepreneurs, how do you determine what projects you're going to tackle and you're going to work on?
It's definitely just taking the time to look at it and just think, well, what can I get the best outcome out of? Like, what's the return that I can receive from this? Because there's definitely something to be said for somebody that can sort out the things that are most important and do them first, then go back and finish the things that are maybe not as high up on the list. But I feel like it's important to definitely get it all done, just to prioritize and to really just take a thorough look at it and think, well, what can I get the most out of right now? Not what can I do right now and then just throw the rest away, but what can I get the most out of right now and then go and finish the rest and get the reward from that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Alina. The parts about business that you like are the marketing, the pitching, the talking to customers. Is that correct?
Yes, certainly. I've always loved talking to people, being socially active, because I think it's really important. I mean, right now, like with all of the social media and the emails, call someone, please, please just get on the phone and call someone. There are phones for a reason, and it's not just for emails. But I definitely think that that's something I have a strength in. And then also, I just always love marketing because I think it's fun finding new ways to market to different people. You get to research different people, put yourself in someone else's shoes and think, well, if I was this person, what would I find interesting? What would pop out to me? So I've always kind of liked that aspect of business.
It's refreshing to hear you say marketing, because I'm a marketing guy, if you want to say that. I love marketing. But it's even more refreshing to hear you say pick up the phone and talk to somebody, especially someone of your age, when the generalization is that people don't want to pick
Got
up.
lazy?
Well, that you'd rather, be on the Instagram or the Snap or text-based, not actually talking to someone physically.
Exactly. And I feel like that's definitely a problem. And it's also a misconception that a lot of people have for my generation. A lot of people think we're lazy. Like we have the time, but we don't take the time to do it. But I find that a lot of people actually do take the time. And it's just the people that are worthwhile. Like a lot of people that I've talked to that are very successful and have very good customer service, which I think is definitely a big part of being successful, are people that pick up the phone and they don't make their employees do it. If you want to make something happen, you, the CEO, the one high up on the pyramid, you need to, if you really want something to happen, then you need to talk to them. And if you're trying to make something better, if there was an issue with the product, respond to the person and call them up and be like, hey, I'm sorry this happened with your product. Let me make it right. And I feel like that's definitely a big problem. And like when you're trying to communicate with a buyer and you're hounding on them through email, they can literally open your email, delete it, and then never respond. But if you call them repeatedly, they cannot ignore you, or at least not for very long.
Alina, I love that. What part of business don't you like? What's your least favorite part?
I wouldn't say I have a least favorite part of business. I would say the part that is not my strength is the accounting and logistics portion, because I haven't gotten to the point in my school career where I can do the math that is required to do the conversions. And I just haven't practiced it in school. So I definitely think that that's one of the things that I just can't do currently, but I do like math. It's not that I don't. It's just that I think once I'm more educated through my school career about it, it'll be a lot easier for me to understand it and a lot easier for me to do it.
Mom and dad are in the business, so I'm curious to ask, what is your advice for family-run businesses, or if folks are considering, maybe they have a young daughter or a young son that they want to kind of follow in your footsteps and do the family business and leverage some resources. What is your advice around the whole family business?
I would say just be understanding and listen to everyone's ideas, because it can be difficult, not only working with your family, but just working with people in general. Like, you're going to have disagreements and you're going to have different ideas of how to execute certain ideas, but just don't be so closed in your mindset to the point where you can't reason with somebody and you can't understand somebody's side of the story and somebody's perspective on a different idea. That's definitely like a big thing. I've always worked well with my family. I think we have a good business relationship, which I'm really grateful for. And I'm really lucky that we haven't really faced any like family struggles, but definitely just to like hear each other out.
I think that's great advice, Alina. I'm very curious. I got to ask this because this is WealthFit Nation. We're all about money around here and investing and putting that money to work. Because you're 13, correct? Right? You're 13 right now?
Yes.
Do you draw a salary?
I don't currently, because a lot of it is reinvestment. And then the rest of it is paying our employees, of course. But then also we give 10% of our profits to support oral health education in schools across America. And then we also have, a nonprofit. So we're not really about the money that's coming in. We're growing the value of the business currently. So I'm not taking a salary. But once we get to the point where we are very expanded, then who knows? Possibly, maybe at the point where I'll need a car. Maybe. I don't know.
A lesson in negotiation. I think, Alina, the kids that are going to listen to the show, the teens that will listen to the show would want to know, well, does she even get an allowance?
I have never gotten an allowance. We do, for media, I have like a media appearance fee. So I do get that, but I don't get an allowance. And a lot of the media or the appearance fees, that goes into a bank account. I can't touch that.
Fair enough.
But my parents they're super, super nice. They have gotten me some things for doing media. When I was in New York one time, I had I want to say 3 or 4 appearances, and it was just like a crazy, and then I had meetings and things. And we went to the Apple store, and my dad bought me AirPods, which I'd been wanting for forever because my PR director had them. And I was like, oh my gosh, those are so cool. I need those. My gosh, birthday present, Christmas present. So yeah, that was my big guilty pleasure.
You mentioned, and I want to invest some time here and really talk about the cause. So we spent a great deal of time talking about Zollipops, and I love the mission. And I'm going to come back to ask you about what you think the future, where it's headed. However, I want to invest some time here into the Million Smiles and your charitable causes that you've aligned yourself with. Can you speak a little bit about what's going on there for you?
Yeah, certainly. So I did mention that we give 10% of all of our profits to support oral health education in schools across America, because tooth decay is actually the single greatest epidemic facing kids in America today. according to the US Surgeon General. But then we also have a separate nonprofit, and it's called 1 Million Smiles. And so that's basically where we give free Zollipops to schools and teachers across America to teach kids about the importance of oral health care and about entrepreneurship, which is so important to teach kids about entrepreneurship, and also to teach them about science, because Zollipops is basically just simple chemistry. So we have like pH tests that teachers can do. And so we have a bunch of different ways that we can bring in entrepreneurship learning into the classroom while also keeping kids' smiles clean.
Where do you see the opportunity? I'm very curious on the charitable side. Where do you see the opportunity with 1 Million Smiles is?
So with 1 Million Smiles, it was kind of just our initial mission for starting the company, because early on in my research, I found that tooth decay was the single greatest epidemic facing kids in America today. And when I found that out, I decided that I needed to create a program so that I could teach kids that this was happening. And so I found that, well, what if I show them that you can have something that not only is good for you, but it also tastes good? And it was a lot of things that I saw that a lot of kids don't have access to proper dental care. And so with Zollipops, we can help change that. And currently, we actually are seeking a sponsor to expand 1 Million Smiles. And that's a big thing for us because we've expanded it from 100,000 smiles to 250,000 smiles and then to 1 million smiles. So that was a big jump for us. But now we're looking to expand even more to 10 million smiles, which is a big leap. But we see that it has been not only teaching kids and causing kids to really think about taking care of their teeth, but it's also driven people back to stores to buy Zollipops. So, of course, there's the profit coming off of that so that we can reinvest. And it's also definitely something for us to connect with communities and to connect with families. And so that's definitely a big thing for us because we're a family-owned company and we want to connect with other families and other communities and just make a difference.
You mentioned a few times now, 10% of profits going to charity, to the oral health, to really empower folks there. For entrepreneurs that are thinking about doing something like you're doing, like that Target has done for quite some time, Tom's Shoes, these socially driven things where they're giving a percentage of the product or a percentage of profits to charity. What are some big things that folks need to be thinking about? Or what are some lessons that you have learned since committing, 10% of your profits to charitable causes?
Well, I definitely thought that it was important from the start. I think that giving back and teaching people about your mission and your cause is always very important because you don't want people just to think that you're just a company that's looking for money, but that you're a company that cares about the customers and is trying to make a difference in the world.
Alina, what I want to do now is I want to move us into WealthFit round. This essentially is rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. What is the new skill that you would like to pick up or master in business?
Accounting and logistics, just to understand it all and really be able to apply it.
Interesting. What's your favorite thing or activity to do outside of work?
Well, I like to sing. Anyone in my family could tell you that all I do is sing. When I have free time, I'm in my room singing. When I'm in the shower, I'm in the shower singing.
Any favorite genres of music that you find yourself singing in?
All kinds of music.
Fair enough. What's your advice for young entrepreneurs that are feeling motivated by your story and want to start something?
Definitely to write your ideas down at the start, do the research, put the effort in, and don't forget to ask questions because that was a big thing that really helped me grow the company, which was asking questions, asking people that have been in the industry for a while. It's important to ask people that have wisdom and just be a sponge and soak up all the information that you can.
I'm going to flip it to you. So here we go. What's the advice for older? And when I say older, I say that with respect and in proportion to you, Alina, because we met at the entrepreneur event and I know you go around, you go to trade shows. So you see, obviously folks that are older than you. What do you see as a younger individual that you would advise maybe older entrepreneurs to rethink or revisit?
Well, this is for when, if somebody that's older than me wants to start a company, don't think about the failure more than you think about the success. Sure, it's important to think about what could go wrong and always have a plan B, as every cartoon ever would say, but you want to make sure that you are passionate about it and that you actually believe it can happen. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, yeah, well, this is a good idea. But I'm just going to grow the company because it's a company. No, you have to be excited. You have to be passionate about what you're doing, or else you're not going to be motivated to keep going.
I'm curious about your routines for success. So, do you have any rituals? Do you have any things that you do to help you succeed in life?
I like to make a daily list of the top 3 things that really matter. And if you get all those done, if you hit all those things, it's going to be a great day.
What's your favorite failure?
My favorite failure, probably the pops melting, because it made us a better company and it made us stronger as a whole. We had to work really hard to get the product fixed as a team. And so after that, all the problems seemed very small and easy to fix because we had so much cohesiveness as a team. And we really knew how to fix a problem, a big problem. So now we can really fix the small problems, no problem.
Alina, this is an interesting question I ask everyone. And so I'm going to frame this one a little bit different for your scenario. Typically, I ask, what's your guilty pleasure spend? So when life is great, when business is going well, and you want to splurge on yourself, or let me reframe it. In this case, you really do the convincing job on mom and dad to buy you something. You mentioned the earpods. So other than that, the earbuds, other than that, what would be your guilty pleasure spend or the thing that you like?
Whenever we're in New York, which is quite a bit, I always like to check Broadway plays are going. And so usually me and my dad will go see a Broadway play just because I love Broadway. And that's kind of the only reason. But it's definitely kind of a little treat at the end of the day. You've done good work, you've had good meetings. Now we get to go have a little bit of fun.
Lena, I love it. I want to ask the final question about what I'm calling the candy empire. What do you see as the future for Zollipops? And my follow-up, what's the biggest thing that you're working on that's got you excited?
Well, the biggest thing that we're working on right now is new products and new flavors and colors. So we're getting into more retailers, but as exciting as that is, the most fun part of owning a candy company is getting to create more products and getting to taste test more candy. So we're working on molded products, new flavors, fun, different colors, and other snack items. We're definitely working on a lot of new things. And so that's something that is really exciting for us.
Alina, I lied. I want to ask one more. I think it's going to be beneficial. What advice do you have for parents that have maybe the signs, they see the signs in their kids? What advice would you give parents to foster or to support their kids in their entrepreneurial tinkerings or endeavors?
Just to really nurture their mindset because that's really important. But I'd say the biggest thing that you can do with your kids is to answer their questions and to listen to them. Please listen to your kids. Not everything that comes out of their mouth is just random words. They actually have good ideas. And if you help them nurture their ideas and help them grow their ideas, it helps them grow as a person and it helps grow your relationship with them. And I know a lot of parents, they say, all I want to do is spend time with my kids. Listen to your kids. So I think definitely working on this company with my family has helped me grow closer to them. And I think we all have a newfound respect for each other. It's not just parents being like, no, your idea is bad. It's like, oh, that's a good idea. How about we take this approach to it? So it's obviously parents are still in charge. I'm not saying kids overthrow your parents. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying parents just listen and help nurture their mindset.
Alina, you've been wonderfully awesome. For folks that want to continue the conversation, buy a Zollipop or 2 or 3 and the taffy as well. And just keep tabs on what's going on in your world. How can people do that?
Well, you can check out Zollipops.com to get more information on our product. It has our retailers listed, but also check out our social media at Zolli Candy. That's our Instagram and our Facebook, and we post daily on there. We are always trying to give out great content and really make some exciting stuff for you guys. And we have amazing giveaways on our Instagram. So make sure to check those out if you're looking for some free Zollipops. I mean, who doesn't love free Zollipops? And then we also have a YouTube at Zolli Candy as well. So just make sure to check those out. And also have your teacher sign up for 1 Million Smiles, which is just a fantastic organization. And we think people can really benefit from it.
Awesome. Well, we'll be sure to put that in the show notes. Thanks, Alina, for being on the show. You're an inspiration to so many. Keep getting after it. And thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Man, so many takeaways. I want to unpack a little bit here so that you can get the full benefit of some of the takeaways. And as always, I always ask at the end, what's your big takeaway? So get on social. Let me know what your big takeaway is. But here are a couple for you to consider or ponder on. Number one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We've had Robert Kiyosaki on the show. And what I found fascinating was with my kids coming up, I was going to leave copies of the book in their room so that when they're of reading age, they will find it and start reading it. When in fact, her father actually read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So that just shaved a bunch of years off. So I thought that was very powerful. And whether you're a Rich Dad, Poor Dad fan or subscriber, what is a motivational book? What is a book that has impact in your world that you can share with your kids or your family members or a loved one or someone once removed? I think that's a very powerful thing. And especially this time of year, depending on when you're listening to it, it's always a great time of year. But at this time of year, this can be a great gift that can dramatically change someone's world. I know I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't read this book. Also, along with Andy Proper, our founder as well, and so many others attribute having their world rocked by this book. So key takeaway number two, I found it incredibly refreshing that she gets on the phone and talks to customers. The general stereotype is that people of her generation, they just want to text or they want to hide behind the computer or the phone. And so I found it refreshing. And I think that bears thinking for some of us that are addicted to the tech or enjoy the tech and haven't called our customers or our clients in a long time. Listen, these are the folks that support us or will support us. And so always remember to talk to the customers, get in their world. Now, another thing I found fascinating is here's a girl, here's a woman to be that is, I don't want to say hampered, but she's got a disadvantage, meaning over the full-time entrepreneur, meaning that she's got a third of her time going to homework, school, probably more than a third of her time, right? She's got to sleep somewhere in there. And so she really has to be present. Now she's got a team, right? And she's got the parents helping her out, but we all have that if you run a business, right? We all have support around us. And so better management of time and taking a look at your task list. What are the things that are going to return the biggest things in your life? What's going to move the needle? And especially if you're in the working world and you desire to be a full-time investor or start a business or change your path in life, you've really got to get clear, like, don't just be busy to be busy, as Alina tells us. However, we want to be thinking what's going to return the biggest investment, right? Because there's no shortage of things to do, get business cards, so play on social media. But are those things really going to return the most? And time is a finite resource. It's something that none of us can control, right? Like it's just going to run out. Like we all are headed to that same fate. And so being mindful of what are the highest revenue generating or most impactful activities, incredibly powerful. Another takeaway. I'm going to do a little rapid fire takeaway here, mix it up rather than just give you three. Keep following up. And so you can see with Alina, she has like no fear, right? She talked about it in the episode. She doesn't have baggage. I thought it was a little slap in the face, but a good one. She doesn't have baggage that adults maybe do, right? Because we've been punched or we've fallen down, we've skinned our knees, right? And so we think of that before we enter into something. And so her ability to be fearless, her ability to just keep following up, not by email, as we talked about, but over the phone, on the phone, because eventually they just can't ignore you. And I think I'm taking away from that, be more fearless. Don't be annoying, but be fearless. And people, especially in the same game, appreciate that. People at the top, like if you're trying to get a hold of an investor, if you're trying to make a deal, if you're trying to start a business, people respect the hustle the grind. They respect somebody who just keep following up, because so many people just stop after the first try, the second try, the third try. Heck, I've done that here at Get WealthFit, and I just keep following up with guests to bring you new, fresh, exciting stories. And you better believe I'm going to keep following up, because Alina reminded me to. Another big takeaway I thought was good was, if you want to make something happen, you've got to talk to them. And so that sort of plays to the phone narrative that we talked about. But if you want to make something happen, rather than dish it off to an employee, if it's something that you've been skirting, if it's something that you don't personally want to do, listen, at the end of the day, all buck stops with you, whether you're in business or you're pulling the trigger on a trade. And so it all stops with you. So if you want to make something happen, that you got to talk to it, stop hiding behind it. I thought these were all important takeaways. So many more, but it's not all about me. It's about you. What takeaways do you have? Let us know on social. Are you motivated? Do you want some more Alina Morse on the show, or folks like her, WealthFit Teen? Did you know about WealthFit Teen? I hope you do. If you didn't, you investigate it, because it's incredibly powerful. It's one of the things we're fired up here at WealthFit. That's it for now. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if you have recommendation of other teen entrepreneurs that are rocking it that you want to hear from. I just need them on my radar. I'll go follow up like Alina told me to do so, but I'll keep bringing the stories. That's it for now. Can't wait to have you on the next show. Thanks for listening to this episode of Get WealthFit. Did you have an aha moment or two during the episode? I want to know. Remember, life doesn't pay you for what you know. It pays you for what you do, for the actions you take and the moves you make. So take a second right now and go to getwealthfit.com. You'll find a printable recap of this episode, links to things we mentioned in the show, and some exercises that'll help you start taking action on the things you've learned. You can also get in touch with me, Dustin Matthews. That's getwealthfit.com. Go there now, and I can't wait to talk with you again on the next episode.